welcome to the con premiere of Ash's Homecoming. Who's excited? We have a great film coming up for you all. It runs about 20 minutes, and stick around after. We're going to do a Q&A with the filmmakers, and we've got like giveaways, posters. I know we're all here for the free stuff, so stick around. Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you.
Stick around, we are going to do a Q&A with our filmmakers and some of the actors, so I want to invite you all down. And I have a few questions for our cast and crew, but anyone from our audience who asks a question, we have a free poster for you. Oh, don't you sneak out. I'm just kidding, I'm just kidding. Come on down, folks. All right, so we're going to start by having our cast and crew introduce themselves, and I'm just going to start with Josie, our fabulous filmmaker extraordinaire.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming. Honestly, I'm blown away. I'm honored that you all have come and given us some of your time today. And I'm the writer and director of this film, and it's been a couple of years. We had to wait to show this until after the pandemic, but it's so amazing to be here, so thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Cardinal, and I was the sound supervisor as well as one of the producers, and I'm so glad to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm George Brietigam. I'm a producer on the film and also the casting director.
Hey, my name's Lianna Liew, and I play Misty. Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie South. I was the production designer and also producer.
Hi, my name is Lianna Liew, and I played Lola.
Hi, my name is Vince Glaeser, and I was the visual effects supervisor.
I love it. So, first question for our team up here. Oh, you want me to introduce myself too?
Yeah.
I'm Sarah Williams. I played Daisy in the film. So the next question, how did you all get involved in the film? And I'm going to pull an audible, and we'll start in the middle with George.
Oh, that was a surprise. So I've known Josie since undergrad. We met in a theater class, and helped on a few of her previous projects. We did Star Trek Wars, which was a Star Wars, Star Trek fan film. And then I joined her on this film, Pokemon.
Lianna, we'll just keep going down the line.
Okay. I saw the casting call on a casting website and submitted to it and thought, yes, I must play this because I love Pokemon. Went to an audition. I think you probably have photos of me at my audition, right? And yeah, the rest is history, I suppose. Similar to George, I worked on Josie's previous films, Steven Spielberg and the Return to Film School, Star Trek Wars, and came back for the third project, Ash's Homecoming.
For me, I remember getting the audition for Ash's Homecoming, and I got casted by Josie, and it was honestly a super fun project.
I was an extra for Star Trek Wars. Josie gave me the very important role of playing the It's a Drop guy. But then I also helped with visual effects for the film, and then she asked me to come in to help with this project.
I got involved because I also worked as a sound designer on Star Trek Wars.
Yeah, this is also my wife. This is Kathy. And I think for me with this film, I've been a lifelong Pokemon fan. I feel like it's definitely my number one all time. I play Pokemon Go, so if anyone wants to be friends, just hit me up after. But sometimes, like, you don't start out, I feel like for me, it comes up, you start out with like just one like little kernel. And for me, the idea that sparked this film was, what would happen if Ash brought the bicycle back to Misty? Because that never happened in the series, and also the characters never got to grow up. And so those were like the two main questions I asked, and then kind of reverse engineering and saying, well, what would need to happen between the series and our film to explain how the bike makes its way back. So that's sort of like how it like, and then you add like a couple hundred people and lots of fundraising and a couple of years, no biggie.
I'll go next too. Thank you for the nod, Josie. I had the pleasure of meeting Josie at the Long Beach International Film Festival. So if you like this movie, and you like other movies like this, you gotta go to film festivals. We live in LA. But we just kind of hit it off, and then he asked me to audition, and here we are. Okay, next question. And Josie, we'll start with you. What was your biggest challenge on this film?
So I wrote these questions, and now the challenge is answering the questions I wrote. I would say the biggest challenge was doing this as a dramatic take, because it's, okay, you have Pokemon, which is a fun, happy, light cartoon, but then how do you make something, in an adult, like a more mature version of that without going too dark? Because there's like, I saw lots of, you've seen them, a lot of like fun Pokemon stuff, but they go like to the other end, they go like super dark. And so when you have a more serious tone to anything, like you have to make sure it's credible. And that was, I think that was the thing that we focused on for every stage of this, was making sure, how do we convince you that you're like, it's really happening and it's not just us just goofing around up there. And our previous films were comedies, so I think that was really fun to get a chance to like try to see how are we going to make a film in the the other direction of that spectrum.
So as a sound effects supervisor, some of the biggest challenges was trying to get like big enough sound effects to fit some of the parts of the film, and finding sound effects that worked. Also just like collaborating with everybody, trying to figure out everybody's schedules and the tonalities. But I think, I learned a lot from it, and that really helped me a lot in my sound design career.
So I think the biggest challenge I had with the film is I'm actually not a Pokemon fan. So I know there's a reason why I dress like this.
Not the right word for that.
But Josie asked me to cast it, and it seemed like a fun project. So I watched a couple of episodes before I started casting it. I'm like, you know what? I think I've got this, and I did. I think for most of the roles, I was able to get. On the first try, I was able to get some good people in. But a couple of them we had some challenges with. For instance, Gary's audition, I think we had like 4 or 5 different days of auditioning Gary's, because the first batch I brought in, they were all like a bunch of like buff, like frat guy types, and Josie was like, George, why are these guys all so big? And I'm like, it's Gary, he's cool, he's like this isn't what you want. It's like, no, not at all. So we ended up doing that like 3, 4, maybe 5 times. And so yeah, that's probably my biggest challenge, is not being a Pokemon
fan. My biggest challenge was was really sick. Do you guys remember? I was recovering from a horrible cold. The first day of filming particularly. I think by the time we shot the swimming pool stuff, I had just about recovered, which was good. But yeah, I watch it back now, I'm like, oh god, I do kind of look ill. But yeah, that was the biggest challenge, just trying to get over that. I think I was like bringing in I don't know what I was drinking, apple cider and cayenne pepper, just trying to make my voice not disappear.
I'd say my biggest challenge was trying to find set dressings on a shoestring budget. You know, there were plenty of locations, and you know, we fundraised money from friends and family, which we were really grateful to have the support of. And to some extent, you know, being a production designer, you want the film to look as best as it can possibly be. So there comes a point where you start to put your own little personal investment into the film, even if it means purchasing some pretty bases on your own dime and just keeping it because, you know, I love the base. And I'm sure this happens a lot to other production designers. You know, we just fall in love with the whole process of finding the perfect set dressings, and Misty's character actually was one of the largest pieces of inspiration for the set dressings in the film, like Cerulean City, trying to find like beautiful blue bases, anything that represented water. So definitely, you know, budget was difficult, but at the end of the day, you know, it's all the journey of finding like the perfect set dressings that will fit into the Pokemon world.
I think the biggest challenge for me to overcome was the scene in the end. I had to find the point where I had to hold the Pokeball up. I don't know if you guys remember, but we kept switching the points of where to look, and eventually we all got on like one point.
Yeah.
And it was so funny when we were actually shooting it, because you just watched the Pokeball, we kept following it back, because she threw it up and then it came back down. We had to hold it up.
Everyone was still looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, in your second watch, you'll notice that.
I think my biggest problem was trying to integrate the Pokemon into the actual world, because the models I was given were going to be placed on top of, let's see, in the flashback sequence. We had Pikachu as a red blanket that Ash can hold, and my job was to completely erase the red blanket and put Pikachu in there. So there was a lot of having to use the clone tool a lot, go through YouTube videos, like, how do I do this, how do I do this, how do I do this? And then, I know there was like a few fingers that I had to recreate. But yeah, if you didn't notice that I did my job well.
Didn't notice it at all. Well done. I don't feel like I had a challenge. I just had an absolute blast being on set with all these lovely people and working with Josie. So it's just a real treat for me. Let's see our next question. What's your favorite memory from your film, or from being on set, or working with this great team? And let's start on this set this time.
I think my favorite memory of the film would have to be just the encounter scene, because just about how much a lot of work went into it in terms of all the filming, as well as all the backgrounds, as well as the effects for that. Because yeah, that was all a blue sky, blue day, a nice blue sky day. So there was no storm at all, and then just working with Josie. Just working with Josie, like right up to the last point, just getting to it and out, figuring out how to get this done. That's a great memory for me.
My favorite memory was probably getting to know everyone and hanging out with everyone and like getting to know, you know, the characters and the storyline, and overall meeting the entire cast and crew.
My favorite memory during one of the saddest films, during one of the saddest scenes in the film, where Ash finds out that Giovanni is his father. Behind the scenes, we were actually learning how to floss. Young Ash and young Misty were just teaching us the dance moves, and we had a really good time behind all of that sadness.
I thought you were talking about flossing your teeth.
I'm showing my age. Speaking of age, you've grown a lot. My favorite memory, it was awesome working with John actually. I wish he could be here. He played Gary. Yeah, he was an awesome scene partner. It was super fun. Where did you find him in the end?
I don't know, I think off of Craigslist.
Just grab someone off the street. But my favorite scene to shoot was the pool scene, I have to say. Because as much as fun as John was, that bedroom stuff, I was so hot that day, it was ridiculous. But the pool stuff was great because wasn't that pool heated?
I don't know.
I think it was heated.
I wasn't
This
in
was
there.
years ago. I think it was heated and it was really nice. But it was really annoying when I would get out and be standing there because you would do the drone shots and the drone was like, if you had done a drone shot, like it blows air at you. And so I'm like wet and like it's like this cold air coming at me. I'm like, I just want to get back in the pool. But yeah, it was pretty nice being in the pool.
So by far my favorite memory was on the very last day of shooting. We were shooting that final battle scene between Giovanni and Ash, and it was at Irvine Regional Park, and we were all on the top of the hill. But then I had to go down to the bottom of the hill where we had our equipment trailer for some reason, and I was kind of by myself down there, and this old guy was jogging through the park, and he kind of stopped, and he looked almost starstruck. He's like, "Hey, are you guys shooting a movie up there?" And I explained to him, "Oh yeah, it's a little independent thing we're doing." And he's like, "Oh, is there anyone I would know who's up there?" And I humored him, I talked to him for a little bit, like, "Oh, this guy, he's all starstruck for no reason." And at the end of it, the conversation's like, "Oh yeah, I used to work in the industry back in the day." And I'm like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, long story short, he told me that he worked on the original Planet of the Apes films." And I'm like, "Really? What'd you do?" He's like, "Oh, I was Cornelius." And I'm like, "What?" He was Roddy McDowell. He told me he was Roddy McDowell. And I'm like, wow, here he is, starstruck, or acting starstruck at least, about what we're doing up here. And I got like super excited. I'm like, nobody's gonna believe this. So anyway, I ended up Googling him. I found out Roddy McDowell died like 10 years ago. Yeah. To this day, I do not know who that man was. He was either killing me or maybe a little demented. I don't know. So that is by far my favorite memory.
Wow, yeah, it's hard to follow up that story. I didn't know about that. Anyway, my favorite memory was probably just like recording Foley and walking around and finding random sticks and stuff. And I was just like, oh, I could use this at some point in this movie. And just working with one of the sound editors, Sarah, and recording with her. We did the vlogs together, which are on YouTube, about doing like sound design and stuff. But also, yeah, just hanging out with people. The memorial scene was pretty cool because like everybody was there that day, and it was fun hanging out with everybody.
Well, favorite memory is so hard question because for me it was many years of thinking about it, and it's in your mind. You're gathering your team and you're building your team, and you know every phase, even to the point where we're gonna make posters. And by the way, if you ask a question later, I'll give you one if you want one. You know. Anyway, so my favorite memory was. The first thing that came to my mind was we were doing the scene with Professor Oak giving Ash's first Pokemon, and we had a fantastic prop, the Pokeball machine where the Pokeball lifts up and they're practicing with it, and we have Ash in the green pajamas and we have Professor Oak, and we have dressed the whole lab, and it literally for a split second I was like, wait, is this the cartoon? Am I just dreaming? Is this just a dream? Because it looked almost identical to the show, and I feel like then surround that with, you know, George and I have spent, you know, basically about a decade getting to this point, working because we made 3 films together, and just getting a chance to have those memories with all of our friends and family. And that's just something that I think that's really special when you make a project, is if you're having a good time and if you're putting people first, then you're also hopefully developing those relationships and those memories.
Yeah. I think for me, it's, and this sounds corny, but it's like the whole process. It's not easy to make a movie, and it's not easy to make a movie that looks this good and is so quality. And so seeing like the team come together and Josie at our helm to really create something that we can all be really proud of is just really, it's really special. It's like very inspiring for me. So shout out to all these fabulous folks. I have a few more questions I can ask, but I do want to open it up to our fabulous audience. If you have any questions, oh, I see a strong hand up there. Yes, sir. What's your question?
What's the best Pokemon game in your opinion?
What's that?
What's the best Pokemon game in your opinion?
Oh, best Pokemon game, your opinion.
Wow, that is, I feel like I'm gonna upset some people. No. I played them all, by the way. I literally basically played every Pokemon game they ever made, except for the bad ones. And for me, the first thing that came to my mind was Arceus. I really like Legends Arceus because I just really think I'm hoping that's where the games go in the future, because I just think that there's so many possibilities for the franchise, and I'm really excited to see if they're going to be able to kind of keep elevating it, especially for people who we're good. We understand how Pokemon games work, so we got to accept the formula.
So, I'm more into the TV show. I don't play I play video games. I haven't really played the Pokemon games too much, though I watched Josie play Pokemon games for hours and hours. So probably, I really liked Arceus as well, and also I think Alola too was pretty interesting. I like the Pokemon characters in that one.
All right, get ready to boo me. I don't play Pokemon
I need to
games.
speak to you. Right, come on guys, it's the originals. There's no competition, I don't know what you're talking about. But originals, and also back in the day when there was Pokemon Stadium and you could hook blue and red up, and you could put your Pokemon there on Pokemon Stadium. I thought that was amazing when I was a kid. It was amazing.
So I played the very early Pokemon games, Red, Blue, and Gold. And at the time, we played Red and Blue on the PC. And I didn't have a Game Boy until Gold was released. So just, through my personal experience, having the Pokemon game available on a portable device was really awesome.
So for me, I never really played any of the games. I was more into the anime as well. Though I did have a friend in 4th grade who would play the cards, and he would show me his card collection. So I have some memories of that, but I never really played any of the games.
It'd have to be the original red cartridge for me.
Yes. Some strong opinions in there. Let's open it up for some more questions. Yes, in the hat with the mask. Yes.
So my question goes to the Giovanni confrontational scenes. When did that come into your head that you wanted that to be a scene with Ash? The mom's there, and they're having a confrontation. There's lightning storms. How did you know you wanted that scene? When did you know you wanted that?
Okay, let's see. The thing about these films is it doesn't on day one you're not oh yeah, that's it. I feel like that section of the film did not really come into focus till a lot of the other pieces are in place. What's the starting, what's the ending point, and how do it go from the beginning to the end? And that section too, because it has so many the animation and the visual effects and the sound design and the location. We were literally in the middle of a park. So much consideration about not just how we want it to play out, but realistically, what can we achieve, right? I think for a while it was a cave, but then you're oh, wait a second, we can't rent a cave, and we can't light a cave, and so, there was lots of other, I think there was other stuff, there's Zubats in this cave, and and so, but I think when I think about the core story, thematically, what you try to do with your characters is make them foils of each other. And so Ash is kind of, in the beginning, we kind of see him as this more selfish character as a kid. And I wanted him to end up as a more selfless, giving character. So how do you put a foil to that? Well, you make Giovanni the exact opposite. You make Giovanni the person who is completely self-centered And so really, a confrontation, just like in any fun, in any, really cool film series, has that conflict of ideals. So that's kind of what that scene, inevitably, those two ideas have to come to a head.
Okay. Yes.
So my question is, whose idea was it to do like the whole Gary and Misty being together?
Gary and Misty situation.
Because also, wasn't Ash supposed to be with Misty?
Well, yeah, I think they end up, in the end, yeah, they end up together. It was more inferred, so they're good. They're good now. I think so Gary comes in as like another foil to Ash, because Ash thinks that he wants to go, have this power and success, and Gary, this is kind of all subtext in the B plot, whatever. He's thinking that his grandfather wants him to maybe settle down, have a life and stuff. But then he, and so that's what it was to give Ash and Gary sort of the two sides of the coin. But also, of course, I mean, it adds to the conflict, it adds to, and I think too, I think it's reasonable to think maybe, Misty and Gary would have found something to connect together. They did know each other for a very long time. And people do change and stuff. And so, yeah, I just thought, it kind of makes sense.
Okay.
I enjoyed the conflict. I enjoyed it.
Your hand shut up. Let's hear from you next.
What's your guys' favorite Pokemon?
Articuno.
You gonna start the Pokemon rap now?
Tell me why.
For me, it's Kabuto, just because he kind of looks like an isopod. And I love isopods. I actually got to touch one at an aquarium. So, that's fine.
Well, I was young and very basic, and my favorite Pokemon was Pikachu. Until I got a holographic Mewtwo, then I thought that was awesome.
I'm all about the whole Eevee collection, but I do have an affinity to fire Pokemon, so it's probably Flareon.
It's probably Spearow for me.
I also like all the Eevees. We have a cat named Eevee as well. And also Vaporeon. I'm more of a water type, I guess.
My favorite Pokemon is Latias. I just really like the design and the color. I like red. But also a special mention Porygon, because when I was in 3rd grade, some random kid gave me the Pokemon card Porygon, and that was, pre-internet times, of course. So that's the first Pokemon I ever saw, and I feel like that was like that little thing that got me. And then here we are 30 years later. So here
You saw Porygon
maybe
before
20
you
years.
saw
I don't want to
Pikachu.
age myself up.
You saw Porygon before you saw Pikachu.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Who's your favorite Pokemon?
Honto.
I like it. All right, we have time for one or two more questions. I'm going to go here. Yes?
Out of all the theories for Ash's dad, what made you think of Giovanni?
Giovanni is the papa.
I mean, you always want to pick characters that are, if we're going to do a fan film, we have to have the established ones, right? How else did you want this to go down? But I think too, he already had that relationship in the show. And so, it's just another way to kind of twist what you already knew.
And I saw a hand back up over here. Yeah.
How did you decide on 17 years later?
The time difference. How'd you decide on that?
Yeah, we shot the film in 2017, and I was 27 at the time. So, Ash, if he started as a trainer at 10, 17 years later would have been the age I was at. And that's sort of like, yeah, he should probably be exactly where I'm at in my life.
It was a good
That's a really good
question.
question.
Yeah.
Do we have a hard out just for timing standpoint? It's 12:52. Can we go till 1?
Yeah, should we just keep going until we get?
We'll go and kick us out. Yeah. Yes.
Pokemon series as a whole has made you fall in love?
Start over there.
Start over here. Okay.
What's the question?
It was what is Pokemon as a whole made you fall in love with it as a series, right?
Yes.
I think just the adventures, just the seeing all these new creatures, as well as the life lessons that it gives. I think it's not only a positive message, but you know, they're just so darn cute.
For me, it was the storyline. Like really, like all the characters, all the relationships. Again, everything was like super cute. I got introduced to it in about like 3rd grade, and that's when I fell in love with it. Honestly, I started watching all of it and kind of read up on more of the Pokemon and learning all about that.
I fell in love with the characters while watching the series. Just, Brock, he brings comic relief to the storyline, and just the dynamic between Ash and Misty and their grievances. It was a 90s craze. I had to get involved. I don't know what, and that's the short. I can give you the long story, but it's just too long.
You know, and it's just the nostalgia for me. Like I said, I'm not really that big of a fan, but in the 90s, everyone was doing it, and looking back, it's just gives you nice, warm feelings inside.
Yeah, I like the anime and everything, and I mean, everybody, it was like a huge thing at recess. Everybody would always be trading Pokemon cards, and one of my friends gave me an energy card. I didn't really know what to do with it, but I had a Pokemon card, so that was cool.
Well, when I was a kid and receiving the Game Boy Color and Pokemon Blue, and being part of the trading card game and watching the show on Saturday morning, Kids WB, and if you miss an episode, it's too bad. And at that time, it really was, that's all I was into. There was nothing else. There was no distractions with like infinite streaming options and infinite internet and infinite social medias to scroll through. It was just that franchise, and I feel like it always brings me back to a special place in my life. But also, I think the core theme of friendship, and that's just always something that I valued, and I think that for me, that's like what I take away from this whole experience was having all these people around for the last 5+ years. So really appreciate everyone being a part of this journey.
I love that. Well, we're getting the boot, but we're going to be in the lobby, so if you have more questions for our filmmakers and actors and crew, we'll be out there. We've got some merch. If you asked a question, come up and get your poster, and also give us a follow, that way you can stay in the loop on all things Ash's Homecoming. Thank you so much for being here.
We can like each other. Closer.
More. Okay. Oh, give me that this Sunday. They're not sponsored. Okay, ready? Purple camera. Give us a count. 3, 2, 1. And then everyone look at the red camera right there.
Folks, 1, 2, 3. One more for you. 1, 2, 3.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, how do I know if I have everybody?
Just keep asking. Yeah, we got whatever it's called. Instead of it's like, one of the
Oh, they're brothers.
Okay, so that was the meat. Okay, good. So
And I put it in the middle too.
Nah, I love how everyone's finding by their shapes.
I know.
Yeah. All of it was recreated in a computer. Yeah, maybe. There you go. Anyone else want to sign it?
Got a You a big Pokemon fan?